Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, here with another Fro Film Project video, but this time we're taking it all the way back to college. That's right, I have my college portfolio right here that we're going to critique and rip apart and talk about. I was digging underneath the bed where I grew up. I used to hide photos under the bed instead of other things, so this is where all of my college and high school photos and photography projects and negatives ended up under the bed. Now they're in a box, and we're going to go through them and critique some of the work. And some of it's going to, it's going to make you scratch your head, and it made me scratch my head. But let's talk about this portfolio that I graduated with. There are 15 images in here that I graduated with. It is a sports-oriented portfolio, but it just doesn't cover action shots. It covers the feeling of what it's like to be at a game. And I sat here and I tried to put together the order again. And what a difficult time I had putting together the order. The order is one of the most important things to do when it comes to putting together a portfolio. It's meant to flow together. And like I've always said, you don't want to try and hide images in a portfolio. If you think you need to hide an image, it probably doesn't belong there. So instead of talking so much about this, let's start showing you the first image. This is one of my most favorite shots. A little background on how I ended up with a sports portfolio is that my portfolio teacher kicked me out of her class, and then I ended up working with a guy named Ed Marco, who was he was a 4x5 teacher, and he kicked my butt. He's like, you're great at taking action shots, but there's no emotion here. You haven't looked behind the scenes. He's like, there's kids there. There's other things going on. Try to capture images of them. And that really resonated with me, and it's something that I take now to heart when I go and shoot everything, is try to do things that people aren't and look behind the scenes. So what you see here is a custom laminated, on the back of it is a felt backing. On the front of it, it's encapsulated. It's got a white border. We could have done a black border. But when you look at the image itself, I hand printed this print. Every print that you're going to see, I hand printed. You see the black border? Do we know what this is? This is a full frame image. This means there is no cropping because you see the negative, you see the sprocket holes, you see the black border. Now my teacher Marcia is the one that handed me the See the World keychain back in college and said, put this in your not put it in your pipe and smoke it, but put it in your wallet and see the world through it. She was a big proponent of not cropping. We were not allowed to crop in her class, and I felt right at home because this showcases how you fill the frame. So this is one of my favorite images. It won a couple of awards at my school. Hand-printed, black and white. Everything you're going to see I did that with. But the composition and framing is great here. Focusing in on the eye. This is using an 80-200 2.8 on probably my F5 at the time while I was in college. And I just love this black and white image. This to me is one of the strongest ones in the book or in the portfolio, but it kind of felt like it needed to go first. I like to tell stories. I like them to go start to finish, to do a day. Like if I'm working with a band, there's the load in, then there's the sound check, then there's the show, and then there's the after show. So that's the stuff I like doing. This image, hand printed color again. Right about there, Stephen, look good? Yep. I hand printed, well, I already said I hand printed all of these. When you're printing color in the darkroom, it is not the easiest thing. It's kind of like sitting there in front of Lightroom, except you see your results instantly. We had to turn these three knobs, a cyan, a magenta, and a yellow, to get the proper color. So you had to test that out, make a print or a test strip, and then go back into the darkroom and do it again. This, I don't think, is one of the strongest images, taken with, I believe, a 20mm 2.8. That was the widest lens that I had in the bag. And it just captured the game. I mean, it captured what was going on in between. This is obviously in between periods because there's a Mites on Ice kid out there. But I thought that it helped tell the story of what's going on. That's why this one's in there. And you can see the sprocket holes again from the color negative. I used the same ground out negative carrier. How did a ground out negative carrier get that way? Somebody filed it out because it would have cropped just maybe shown 97% of your image, but somebody sat there and filed out the top, the bottom, the left and the right, and that's how you're left with the sprocket holes. And what was funny is there were multiple ground out negative carriers to use. I used the same enlarger with the same ground out negative carrier throughout the whole semester because I wanted to have a consistent result. Here we have Mario Lemieux playing in Philly. Yeah, it's a nice shot because it's Mario Lemieux. If it was just somebody else standing there, it's probably not the best in the world, but he kind of looks like he's looking at me, but he's not. He was doing like a rotation thing with his head, and I captured him right here. 800 speed film, Fuji 800, 36 exposures, pregame skate. I like this shot because it's Mario Lemieux. He just came back to play. Then at the time, Jaromir Jagr, he was their captain, so I was on the bench. I could be on the bench for pregame skates. I would get permission from the PR people. They said, yes, you can go on the bench before the game, and that's where I would take photos. Get iced every once in a while, hopefully not get hit by a puck. But on the bench during pregame is a place where you can get some really nice shots. Little too much headroom in this one. I don't find that this bottle is a distraction, but obviously I noticed it. The focus is on Jaromir here. If it was shot a little tighter, it probably would have been a little better, but you see the whole point of having the ground out negative carrier, that this is full frame, and you can see that. All right, moving on. We've got one of my favorite, another favorite shot. This is Gino Ojic. He was a goon in the league. Obviously, he has no teeth. Again, a little bit too much headroom. I would like to have it stop right about here. I try to only leave about this much space at the top. In this case, too much. I think a lot of that had to do with the focusing points. You only had 5 focusing points in the Nikon F5, and they were very hard to see. So I would a lot of times spend my time focused with the center focus point because you just didn't have the ability to say, focus here, and this is where his eyes would have been, and then I would have had enough room up top. But this is another good shot. It tells the story about this guy. He's looking right at me. He's a goon. He's a fighter. That's why he has no teeth. This one was taken with this was Ilford 3600 speed film, hand printed using probably a 3.5 filter. Look how nice the whites are. You can see how nice the white paper was. That means the chemicals were good. On some of the color ones, you can see that they're yellowing a little bit. They yellowed from day one because that means the chemicals weren't uber duper fresh. But this is one of my favorite shots. This is Brian Boucher. He was one of the Flyer goalies at the time, and this is just, in my opinion, perfectly framed top to bottom. The eye is nice and sharp. I like the fact that the eye is above the center of the frame. If the frame was with the eye in the center, it just kind of is distracting. So it's in the top third or 2/3 of the image, and I just really love this black and white. One of my favorites in the whole portfolio. This is what my teacher was talking about, Ed Marco. He was talking about capturing something that's going on behind you, not just the action that's in front of you. So I saw this girl in the stands, and then that was her dad behind her. So you have her in focus with him out of focus in the background. Look how nice that is with the blurred, the bokeh going on there. I like this image. I think it works very well in this portfolio. Again, it's about telling the story about the game or about what it's like to be at a Flyers game. And if you can feel the emotion in 15 images where I'm giving you behind-the-scenes looks, on the bench pre-game, action shots, goals being scored, that's what we're talking about. This is Van Beesbroek. What was his name? Brian Van Beesbroek? I think it was Brian. Anyway, he's got that nice helmet. This is a nice action shot. This, I got to shoot through the glass. Actually, it wasn't through the glass. We had a little hole that we could shoot through, a photo hole. I would have loved to have had more of that. This image looks a little green. If I was in Lightroom, I would just switch that up just a little bit. But look how cool the negative file is. You can see that so many people try to emulate this now with plugins, and it's just not the same result. This, to me, shows quality. When you don't have to crop, you're so much better off. Look at this. Perfect space down at the bottom, perfect space down at the top. Puck is right here making the save. That's what makes that a great action shot. Plus, it's a good save because he came out of the net to cut down on the angle. I think this is the ultimate favorite shot. This is Rusty Fedotenko, the out-of-focus guy in the foreground. This is, I just forgot his name. He wore number 28. Kent Mandeville for the Flyers. This was during a pregame when I sat in between the benches where you hear a lot of fighting, a lot of cursing, a lot of back and forth, but you're stuck there the whole period. You can't get out. You have to crawl in through the other bench to get there. It's what a perspective to watch a game. Not the greatest place to get action shots from because you can only get really what happens between the blue lines, but this is another image that won a bunch of awards at school. Focused right there on his eyes. Rusty is out of focus. All the sticks, this out of focus stick right here is not a distraction. It draws you into the frame. All of this out of focus stuff draws you into it, creating interest. This is, I'm going to say, my favorite shot from the entire portfolio. We're almost there. So we have Keith Primeau here. He just started playing. I think this was his first game as a Flyer. That was a big trade. This is the quintessential action shot. The guy is coming around the circle. He's making his turn. His head is up. I don't mind that it's not a fully tight image. It could be a little tighter, but I don't mind the out-of-focus stuff in the background because you have more detail. With action shots, it's not just about filling the frame all the time. Sometimes it's showing what's going on, like a goal being scored, seeing the dejection on the goalie's face or, with his head hung low. That is something that you want to look for. But mixing in the tight shots is great. This is a great shot for a hockey card at the time. But yeah, this is cool. I like this shot a lot. Another tight shot. I believe I was using... What was interesting, there was a guy who brought a 300 2.8 to the game. He also had like a 600. I guess he was a photographer. He let me use it for a little bit for one of the periods, and I used a 300 2.8 to get this, and man, does that really fill the frame and give you a nice tight action shot. Terry Murray in the background, he became the Flyers coach after that. This is Kent Mandeville again, keeping a puck in at the blue line. I like this action shot. I think that the guy out of focus here draws you into the image, so this gives you interest. I like that a lot, and this was shot through the glass because the lens was too big for the photo hole. This image was the one that I always thought about not using. I don't think this is the strongest. I'm going to move it up a little bit. I don't think this is the strongest image in the bunch at all. It's an action shot, but if there was one that I tried to hide, it probably was this one. And that meant it should have been pulled out, but maybe I didn't have one to replace it at the time. Because with these custom laminations, I had to send it out to California and give it like a 2-week lead time, and our portfolios became due. All right. This is a cool Van Beesbrook image. Out of focus guy right here. Out of focus guy right here. Goalie leading you in. Multiple planes of focus, making this image almost look 3D. Love this. Love how the net is just there on its angle, and then it looks like he's looking right at me. This is the type of action shot you're looking for when you've got multiple things going on in an image. I love this shot a lot. And then we have 2 more left. We've got a goal being scored right here. You can see all of the action going on in the background. Everybody's cheering. The goalie's here. Wayne Primeau, Keith Primeau's brother, is all upset. Is this Rob Ray? I can't tell if that's Ray. I don't know if that's Rob Ray, but this was one of the Flyers goons who scored a goal. Oh, and you can see the puck in the net. That is action shots. That's what you're looking for. All of this stuff going on in the background. That's why sometimes you have to shoot a little wider, and you can't always shoot the tightest of tight shots. Because you will miss out on the action like this. There's so much going on in here. This tells a story. Really love the goal shot right there. And then the final image is a wider shot of the Flyers scoring a goal as well. My focus was to try to get an action shot where the Flyers were scoring a goal. I actually wanted a wide shot using the 20 millimeter on the F5. You can see that these two people are not paying attention as the goal's being scored. You can see that the ref is pointing at the net to symbolize a goal being scored. I'm sure the red light's either on or was coming on. You can see all of these other people just getting out of their chairs to cheer, and then I captured this. I took 2 or 3 shots right away. I may have had to dodge, may have had to burn in the ice, Stephen. Burning in the ice, this is how you would burn in the ice. You would make sure you did not cover any of the, you wanted to cover everything but the ice. So pretty much you would go like this and would let just the light from the enlarger hit the ice for a longer burn so that you didn't overburn, develop this area, but you developed this more so that you could get the detail in the rink. These are the things you had to think about when you were in the darkroom printing. So that wraps up the college portfolio. I finished second in portfolio review graduating school. I should have won. I think I got screwed because of one of the teachers. She didn't like me. And from that point on, no teachers were allowed to do portfolio reviews after that. I think I complained a lot, but maybe not a lot. That was my portfolio. A lot of work went into this. Hand printed. This isn't just hitting print on the computer. You're not going to sit there and print it out instantly with your inkjet printer. You have to go into the darkroom. You have to do a test strip through everything to determine if the colors are right. You got to tweak the colors until they are right, and then you make your final print with the borders, send it out to be custom laminated. But this is what I graduated school with. Didn't really show it to too many people after that. Very proud of this sports portfolio because it's not just sports. It tells the story of everything that's going on. And I think I got the order pretty right because we went from a guy scoring a goal with the puck in the net to everybody cheering on another goal. So I know that was long, but that is a portfolio review of my graduating portfolio from Antonelli Institute back in 2001. That's another Fro Film Project video. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.